The rivalry between Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer has reached a point where the tension feels far more personal than a typical championship feud. What began with two determined competitors fighting for the same prize has gradually turned into a battle of pride, credibility, and completely different paths through professional wrestling. Liv Morgan believes her success has earned her a place at the top, while Stephanie Vaquer has built her identity around the years of hard work it took to reach WWE. Their differences have made every interaction feel more intense, especially now that both women are openly questioning each other's accomplishments. At the center of everything is the Women's World Championship, but this story has become about much more than a title. It is about respect. Morgan has repeatedly presented herself as the superior star, confident that her championship reign proves she belongs among the biggest names in the division. Vaquer, meanwhile, sees herself as someone who earned every opportunity through years of wrestling outside the spotlight. That contrast has created an atmosphere where even a simple social media exchange can turn into another chapter of their growing rivalry. Where the bad blood began. The roots of this rivalry go back to the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble, when Liv Morgan earned the opportunity to challenge Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World Championship. From that moment, the relationship between the two competitors became increasingly tense. Vaquer had spent more than a decade working through independent promotions and international wrestling scenes before finally reaching WWE, and she viewed Morgan as someone who had benefited from entering the company at a much younger age. Morgan saw the situation differently. To her, success was not something that needed to be apologized for, and she believed her own journey proved that she deserved to be standing in the championship spotlight. Their contrasting perspectives created a natural rivalry, but the personal comments made it clear that neither woman was interested in simply keeping things professional. By the time WrestleMania 42 arrived, the championship match had become one of the most emotionally charged contests surrounding the women's division. Morgan ultimately defeated Vaquer and captured the Women's World Championship, but the victory did not settle their differences. Instead, it gave Morgan another reason to boast about her position, while giving Vaquer an even stronger reason to believe that their story was not finished. A championship becomes the center of the argument. After WrestleMania, the focus shifted toward Morgan's championship reign and whether she was doing enough to establish herself as a dominant champion. Liv frequently celebrated her success and presented herself as someone who had reached a level that Vaquer could no longer touch. Vaquer responded by questioning how impressive the reign really was, particularly when it came to the number and frequency of title defenses. That argument struck at the heart of Morgan's confidence. For Morgan, holding the championship was proof that she had already accomplished what mattered most. For Vaquer, however, a champion's legacy was measured by more than simply possessing a title. It was about stepping into the ring, defending it regularly, and proving that you could remain on top against every challenger. That difference in philosophy quickly became another source of friction. Instead of discussing the championship itself, the two women began using their respective careers as ammunition. Morgan emphasized her rise through WWE, while Vaquer pointed to the long road she had traveled before receiving the same opportunity. Their exchanges became less about winning an argument and more about proving whose journey deserved greater respect. Stephanie Vaquer refuses to back down. Stephanie Vaquer has responded by embracing the part of her story that Morgan attempted to use against her. Rather than being embarrassed by her years outside WWE, Vaquer has treated those years as proof of her determination. She has reminded fans that she did not have an easy route to the top and that every opportunity had to be earned. Her argument is simple. Surviving more than a decade in professional wrestling should not be considered a weakness. It should be considered evidence of commitment. Vaquer has also made it clear that she believes her absence from WWE created an opening for Morgan to establish herself, and she has suggested that things could have been very different had she remained in the company. That confidence has made her response especially compelling. She is not asking fans to feel sorry for her. She is asking them to remember what she accomplished before the spotlight became brighter. In her mind, Morgan may have the championship today, but the rivalry is nowhere near finished. Vaquer believes she has already proven she can overcome difficult circumstances, and now she wants the opportunity to prove she can overcome Morgan as well. Becky Lynch changes the championship picture. The situation becomes even more interesting with Becky Lynch returning to the picture. Lynch's comeback immediately adds another major personality to an already crowded championship scene, and her confrontation with Morgan creates an entirely new layer of tension. Then Vaquer's appearance adds another complication, making it clear that Morgan may have more than one serious challenger waiting for her. This changes the dynamic considerably. Morgan can no longer focus exclusively on Vaquer, because the division is becoming increasingly competitive. Every confrontation now has the potential to turn into a larger championship story. For Vaquer, that could be an advantage, because she can continue building momentum without allowing Morgan to control the entire conversation. For Morgan, however, the pressure is greater than ever. She has spent much of this reign presenting herself as untouchable. But the arrival of established stars and determined challengers means she now has to prove that confidence inside the ring. The real question going forward. The biggest question is no longer whether Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer dislike each other. That much is obvious. The real question is whether their rivalry can eventually return to being about competition rather than personal attacks. Professional wrestling thrives on heated rivalries, but the most memorable ones usually work because the competitors have something meaningful to prove against each other. Morgan wants to establish herself as one of the defining champions of her generation. Vaquer wants to prove that the years she spent fighting for recognition were worth it, and that she belongs at the very top of WWE. Those are powerful motivations without either woman needing to diminish the other person's background. Their next encounter could therefore be more important than anything they have said online. If Vaquer gets another championship opportunity, she will have the chance to answer Morgan where it matters most, inside the ring. And if Morgan defeats her again, she will have an even stronger argument that her confidence was justified. A rivalry built on pride. At its core, this entire story is about pride. Liv Morgan is proud of how far she has come, proud of becoming Women's World Champion, and unwilling to let anyone question her achievements. Stephanie Vaquer is equally proud of the years she spent developing her craft before reaching WWE, and she refuses to allow anyone to dismiss that journey. That is why every exchange between them carries so much weight. Neither woman wants to be the one who backs down. Neither wants to admit that the other has a point. And with Becky Lynch now entering the championship conversation, the pressure surrounding the division is only going to increase. The next chapter will ultimately be decided by what happens between the ropes, where championship matches are won and lost. Until then, every interview, confrontation, and social media exchange will continue adding fuel to one of WWE's most talked-about rivalries. Morgan may currently hold the championship, but Vaquer has made one thing perfectly clear. She believes her story is unfinished, and she intends to make sure Morgan remembers exactly who is coming for her.